After 70, these 5 routine checkups might be deadlier than you think. You trust your doctor, you follow the schedule, blood tests, scans, screenings, stress tests, all the usual suspects. But behind closed doors, even some doctors are beginning to admit it. These very checkups might be doing more harm than good, especially after the age of 70. And the scariest part? They don't warn you when it starts. First, you feel just a little more tired, then you cancel your morning walks, until one day you're grabbing the wall just to stay upright, and your independence starts to slip away. Now imagine this, a 74-year-old woman, active, vibrant, and full of life. She played tennis twice a week, gardened every morning. She went in for a scan her doctor recommended. Just to stay ahead, she was told. 3 weeks later, she could barely walk, not because of a disease, but because of the treatment the scan triggered. She wasn't the problem. The test was. You've heard it everywhere. Routine screenings are the key to prevention. Early detection saves lives. But here's what they don't always tell you. That advice? It was designed for people decades younger. Once you're over 70, the very tools that once protected you might actually be putting you at risk. That's why even many health coaches and geriatric doctors are now speaking out. Some routine health checkups aren't just unnecessary after 70, they might be dangerous. Today we're revealing the 5 most commonly recommended checkups that many experts believe seniors should think twice about. These aren't fringe opinions. They're based on evidence and on real stories from real people. If you care about staying informed, don't forget to tap like and hit subscribe. It helps more people find vital info like this. In this video, you'll discover which 5 routine health checkups may carry hidden risks after age 70, why these tests were originally recommended, and why the equation changes as we age. And if you're over 70 or caring for someone who is, this might just be the most important health video you watch all year. Because while doctors mean well, not every recommendation is based on what's best for your stage of life. Stick around, especially for number 3. It's the one most seniors never question, and yet it could carry the biggest long-term cost. Let's begin with the checkup that seems completely harmless. The one we've all been told to do routinely, without question. The standard blood test. Sounds simple, right? You've done it for years. A quick blood draw. But after 70, these same tests can suddenly trigger a chain reaction you never saw coming. Let's start with the checkup that seems harmless, but could quietly unravel your health. At first, it's just numbers on a page. Maybe one is slightly high, nothing urgent, just a little off. But that small shift, it can set off a storm. That's exactly what happened to Elaine. Elaine is 74, still drives herself to the store, plays tennis twice a week, gardens in the morning, and reads in the evening. She felt healthy, strong. Then one day her doctor recommended routine blood work, just in case. One number came back slightly elevated. That's odd, the doctor said. Let's do one more test. Then another, and another. First came an ultrasound, then a CT scan, a biopsy, 2 medications, just in case. Elaine started losing sleep, missed her granddaughter's birthday. She stopped eating normally, convinced her liver was failing. 3 weeks later, she could barely walk, not because of a disease, but from the side effects of a treatment she may never have needed. Months down the line, every result came back normal. There was nothing wrong. That first number had meant nothing, but the damage was already done. And sadly, Elaine's story isn't rare, because here's what happens. As we age, our bodies change. So do our lab numbers. What's abnormal at 40 might be perfectly normal at 74, but most lab ranges don't account for age. That means many older adults, healthy, active, and full of life, get flagged for numbers that were never dangerous in the first place. And once those numbers are flagged, panic sets in. Just like Elaine, thousands of seniors end up chasing a ghost. Not because they're sick, but because a machine found something a little off. The fear, the tests, the treatments, all because of one routine checkup. It's a trap, and the system keeps pulling people in. Doctors mean well, but the medical system rewards action, not restraint. So the safest thing for them? Run more tests. Prescribe just in case, even if it means dragging you through a maze of fear and side effects. That's why over-testing often leads to over-treatment, especially with blood tests, where false positives are common, especially in older adults. These false alarms can cost you more than money. They can steal your peace of mind, your energy, and even your freedom. So what should you do instead? It's not about avoiding blood work completely, it's about being smart. If you have new symptoms, real changes in how you feel, testing makes sense. But if you feel fine, and the only reason is it's routine, talk to your doctor about a personalized testing schedule based on your medical history, not your age alone. You've earned peace of mind, not paranoia over every decimal point, because sometimes not knowing every tiny fluctuation is the healthiest choice of all. The second checkup you might want to think twice about? Your annual physical exam. Are they just a checkbox now? It's one of the most trusted routines in healthcare, especially for older adults. Once a year, you walk into the doctor's office, get a quick exam, a few tests, and head home with the comforting words, "Everything looks normal." But here's the problem. That routine may no longer work in your favor, especially after 70, when your body's needs change fast and your symptoms may not show up on standard tests. So what if that normal report is actually hiding a bigger issue? What if the yearly physical, the very thing meant to keep you safe, is quietly letting real problems slip by? Let's break this down. The typical physical includes a checklist: blood pressure, weight, heart and lung sounds, basic questions like, any concerns? For younger people, this can be enough. But seniors often experience subtle symptoms, changes in energy, memory, digestion, or strength that don't show up in these quick snapshots. You might be told you're healthy, even though you're clearly not feeling like yourself. Imagine this. You wake up tired every day. You lose strength walking across the room. You can't think as clearly as you used to. And yet, after your exam, the doctor smiles and says, "Everything looks great." Let's talk about Marvin. He's 78, retired, used to be sharp and active. But over a few months, he started feeling off, always tired even after rest. Walking upstairs left him breathless. He had to pause halfway just to catch his breath. He thought something serious might be wrong, but for 2 years in a row, his annual physical said everything was fine. No follow-up, no further tests, just, "You're doing great." It wasn't until Marvin collapsed in his driveway that the truth came out. Early stage heart failure, caught far too late. Why did the physical miss it? Because these exams aren't designed to dig deep. They're built to check boxes, not uncover hidden causes. That's where functional wellness reviews come in. This is a smarter, more complete approach, especially for people over 70. It goes beyond the numbers and actually listens to how you feel. You talk about your sleep, your memory, your digestion, your ability to move, focus, and enjoy life. It's not rushed, it's real. And most importantly, it finds patterns the basic exam never will. Because after 70, it's not about just surviving. It's about living with strength, clarity, and peace of mind. So don't settle for "you're fine," because the truth is, you might not be. And in the next module, we'll look at a test that's even more common, but could quietly increase your cancer risk without you knowing it. This is the one we told you to stick around for. Because if you're like most seniors, you probably trust this one the most. CT scans, MRIs, PET scans. Radiation isn't the only danger. These are the giants of modern medicine, sleek, advanced, life-saving. But after 70, they might quietly become your biggest risk. But what if these high-tech scans, meant to protect you, actually pull you into a cycle of fear, misdiagnosis, and unnecessary surgeries? Why? Because more and more seniors are being sent for scans when they have no symptoms, no pain, no warning signs. Just a vague, "let's be thorough." And that's where the real danger begins. What feels like a simple scan can quietly become a silent trap, especially in older age. Take a healthy senior who feels fine. Their doctor says, "Let's do a quick brain MRI, just in case." Seems smart, right? Until the scan shows a faint shadow. Something tiny, likely harmless. Maybe even a false signal. But suddenly you're referred to a specialist, then another test, and then you're facing a biopsy or surgery that could have been completely avoided. Imagine feeling perfectly fine, only to walk into a scan and come out with a diagnosis you didn't need and damage you didn't expect. Here's what's rarely explained. These machines are powerful, sometimes too powerful. They detect every wrinkle, spot, and scar, and not all of them matter. In fact, studies show that imaging tests in older adults often lead to overdiagnosis, and worse, overtreatment of conditions that were never dangerous in the first place. It's called the cascade effect. One scan leads to another, which leads to a procedure, which leads to real harm, physically, emotionally, financially. Just ask Helen. She was 74, energetic, walked every morning, no major complaints. At a routine checkup, her doctor said, "Let's get a full scan, just to be extra safe." The results? A tiny spot near her lung. She felt completely fine, no symptoms at all. But the scan triggered alarms. Soon she was booked for a biopsy. During the procedure, her lung collapsed. She was hospitalized for 5 days. And in the end, the spot was benign, no danger, no treatment needed. But her peace of mind in her body paid the price. That's the part most people never hear. We think scans give us peace of mind, but often they give us panic instead, especially as we age when small abnormalities are common, but not always meaningful. These tests can open the door to anxiety, misdiagnosis, and invasive treatments that don't improve outcomes. Now, to be clear, scans can save lives, but only when there's a clear reason for them. That's the key. Before you agree to imaging, ask, do I have symptoms? Will this scan change what happens next? Is it necessary now? Or can we wait and watch? Because after 70, doing less can sometimes protect you more. And coming up next, a checkup that millions still trust. But new research links it to increased cancer risk later in life. You won't believe how common it is. They told you early detection saves lives. But what if, in your later years, the very test meant to protect you becomes the one that quietly puts you at risk? You follow the routine. You show up for the checkup. You feel perfectly fine. But then a shadow appears on a scan, and suddenly you're no longer healthy. You're a cancer patient. What if the test didn't save you? It labeled you. Medical test number 4 is routine cancer screenings. That includes colonoscopies, PSA tests, and mammograms. Tests that once felt like lifesavers, but may now carry more harm than help in older age. Let's break down why. Here's what most people don't know. In later years, these screenings become less likely to catch an aggressive, deadly cancer, but more likely to detect slow-growing or harmless changes that never needed treatment in the first place. And that can spiral fast, not just into emotional stress, but into painful surgeries, side effects, and permanent damage. One major study found that after age 75, routine screenings led to more false positives, overdiagnosis, and complications, with no real gain in life expectancy for most people. But beyond the science is the human cost. Meet Peter, 76, retired, healthy, and full of life. He went in for a routine PSA test. No symptoms, no issues, just playing it safe. But a few days later, he got the call. Your test showed something. We need to investigate further. Suddenly, his world changed. Peter couldn't sleep. He started researching prostate cancer. He pulled out a notebook and began writing goodbye letters to his wife, his children, even his best friend. He said, if this is it, I need them to know how much they mean to me. Doctors ordered a biopsy. It was invasive, painful, and terrifying. And then the results came back. No cancer, just a benign enlargement, perfectly normal for his age. The physical scar healed, but the emotional wound lingered. He told a friend, I walked into that clinic healthy. The test didn't help me. It stole months of peace from my life. The point isn't to blame doctors. They're following their training. Most are doing their best with the tools they were given. but you get to ask better questions because you're the one living with the outcome. Here's the truth. Screenings do save lives in the right age range, but past a certain point, the risks begin to outweigh the rewards. Some cancers grow so slowly, they'd never hurt you in your lifetime. Yet the treatment can still ruin it. So before you agree to that next scan or scope, ask, will this truly help me, or could it quietly hurt me? Because the goal isn't just a longer life, it's a better one, with clarity, control, and peace of mind. Now, what's the last test on this list? It's one that sounds smart, even life-saving, but for many older adults, it quietly opens the door to danger. Let's talk about it. You feel a little tired one day. Your heart skips a beat. You wonder, is this normal or is something wrong? Out of fear, you go in for a checkup. The doctor says, let's do a quick test to see how your heart is doing. They run a stress test, or maybe an ECG, just to be sure, just to rule things out. And that's where everything changes. Even if you feel fine, even if you've never had chest pain, that simple test might pull you into something you didn't expect and don't actually need. Because here's the truth most people don't hear until it's too late. Cardiac stress tests and ECGs, especially after 70, can do more harm than good if your heart isn't showing real symptoms. These tests can start a chain reaction. A mild change on the ECG, maybe a skipped beat or a slightly unusual rhythm, sounds scary, but often it's completely normal for an aging heart. Still, it gets flagged as abnormal. So now what? Now you're told to see a heart specialist. Now they want more tests, more scans, maybe even a heart procedure. All this when you never had a real problem in the first place. Let me tell you about someone who lived this. Thomas, 74, was in good shape, took morning walks, ate fairly well, never had chest pain, but one day he got scared. His neighbor had a heart attack, so Thomas asked for a heart checkup, just to be safe. They did a stress test. Halfway through, Thomas felt dizzy and had to stop. The doctors said the results looked unclear and mentioned possible blood flow issues. A week later, they did an angiogram, found a mild blockage, not dangerous, but they put in a stent anyway. A few weeks after that, Thomas landed in the ER, not for his heart, but because of internal bleeding from the blood thinners he now had to take. He later told his daughter, I didn't have a heart issue until they tried to fix something that wasn't broken. And here's the part that might surprise you. Major health groups, including the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force, don't recommend stress tests or ECGs for people without symptoms, especially older adults. Why? Because these tests often lead to false alarms. And those false alarms lead to real stress, real meds, real surgeries, and real side effects. And sometimes, those fixes are riskier than the original concern. So what should you do instead? Take care of your heart in ways that truly matter. Eat foods that fuel it. Move a little each day. Manage your stress. Sleep well. That's what protects your heart. Not a machine, not a treadmill, not wires taped to your chest. Because a quiet heart scan doesn't mean peace of mind, but real heart care? That starts with your daily habits, not unnecessary tests. Now here's something you don't hear every day. We've talked about the checkups to be cautious with, the ones that might do more harm than good. If you've stuck with me this far, here's a bonus tip just for you. There is one checkup more seniors should actually start doing, especially after 70, and it's probably not what your doctor usually recommends during an annual visit. In fact, this might be the most powerful health checkup you've never even heard of. It's called a functional wellness review or a personalized lifestyle assessment. And no, it doesn't require hospital gowns, fasting, or tubes and wires. This is a deeper whole-body checkup that looks at what really matters. How well are you sleeping? Is your food helping or hurting you? Can your body move freely without stiffness or pain? Are you steady on your feet or starting to lose balance? How's your energy, your digestion, your clarity of mind? This kind of review doesn't just chase numbers or scan for disease. It listens to your life and helps you build a plan that keeps you strong before things go wrong. Here's why that matters. Too many seniors are pushed through generic protocols, yearly blood work, standard screenings, automatic tests, but those don't always take into account you, your needs, your pace, your history, or even your goals for aging well. The truth is, your body after 70 is different, and what worked at 40 may not work now. You deserve care that's personal, not robotic. Of course, doctors aren't wrong. They're doing what they were trained to do. Follow the protocol, catch things early, and help how they can. But here's the catch. Your health is still your responsibility. No one lives in your body but you. And no one, not even the best doctor, knows what feels right for your system better than you do. That's why we share this information. Not to scare you, not to shame you, but to keep you aware so you can make smarter decisions, lean on nature more than machines, and protect your independence without fear. Sometimes the best checkup isn't a test at all. It's asking, what's working in my body and what's not? Because staying healthy after 70 doesn't mean doing more. It means doing what actually works for you. You've spent a lifetime doing what's right, showing up, following the rules, taking care of others. Now it's time to do what's smart and start taking care of yourself in a way that's honest, calm, and clear. Don't be afraid to question outdated routines. Don't be afraid to pause before saying yes to another test. And never forget, your body is wise. You just need to listen to it. And hey, if this video opened your eyes, imagine what's coming next. So hit subscribe for more honest, empowering health truths. Tap like if you feel seen, heard, or if you think it helped you and want to appreciate the effort behind it. And leave a comment. We truly love to hear your story. Maybe you've had a checkup that made you pause, or a moment that changed how you view your health. Whatever it is, your experience matters here. We're building a community here of strong minds, wise hearts, and fearless comebacks. Stay with us, stay sharp, and most of all, stay in charge of your health.